Hey, this is Chris at Art Secret Studio, and the question keeps coming up, even with advanced artists in the class, about oiling out. And not so much how to do it. Once you see it, you'll understand how to do it. So it's really about just the different reasons that I oil out. And I think there's about 3, and I'm making it up as we go, so we'll see how many I actually do and why. There are many types of oiling out product that people use. My favorite is Winsor Newton Oil Painting Medium. And the reason I use the Winsor Newton Oil Painting Medium is it has stand oil in it, and stand oil is non-yellowing. Other people like to use Galkid mixed 50-50, but Galkid yellows. So why do I put yellowing agent all over my painting? So I am just absolutely against Galkid. I take a big fan brush, a bristle fan brush, and that bristle fan brush is dedicated toward, oh, I can put that in front of that sign, Winsor Newton Oil Painting Medium. And the fan brush I use is like a number 4 fan brush, and I only oil out with this fan brush. I also have a number 4 fan brush that's bristle that I varnish with. And then I use these same bristle fan brushes in a number 3, but I never oil out and varnish with my working fan brush, which has paint in it. So let's start with the oiling out process. So the first step of oiling out is I put it in a cup. I use the same containers for everything, and then I clean it. So I put it in a cup. So I'm gonna dip it in the cup with my bristle brush, and I'm gonna massage it in the painting. So why am I oiling out this particular painting? Well, for the first reason is the paint gets absorbed by the ground, and we have what's called a sunken effect. So you see the flat area and the shiny area. So now when I'm painting and I put shiny paint down, the shiny area is easy to see what color it is, and I do a better job matching because what I'm painting with has a lot of oil in it and it's shiny, and the other area is not. More important than that for me is this painting's been sitting for quite some time, and it has sunk in, and as the paint hardens, it gets just that, brittle and hard, and the next layer doesn't want to stick to it. So a quick little story about this painting. It's a copy of a Sargent when he was at Capri, and I noticed something about Sargent, and I'm just massaging this in for a minute or so. Then I'm going to check the timer, and after about 5 to 7 minutes, I'm going to take 100% cheesecloth that I get at Amazon, and I'll put the tag in the picture once I cut the video, because I had to borrow this piece and it wasn't in its wrapper. I'll get 100% cheesecloth. So there, I've massaged it in. There it is. It's done. This is no big deal. And that's it. I'm done. I'm finished with it. I'm going to do a bigger one in a second, so I'm going to leave everything out. So I need to talk for 4 minutes. Actually, there's another one I need to do. I'll do it at the same time. So the reason I did this one, though, is it was sitting for a long time. I never finished the painting, and now I want to work on it. Even though I could paint over it the way it is, the paint will stick to it today, but as it starts to cure in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it really never grabbed the slick surface. And 6 months from now, it could peel and flake, especially if it was hit from behind or something. So you're doing it first and foremost. When the paint starts to get hard, and you want to work on it, it softens it up, or it creates a barrier that was able to grab the hard paint, and now your new paint will stick to it. Whichever happens, I don't know. The science behind it doesn't really matter to me, but something is adhering to the existing paint, and now my paint's going to adhere to this. They never mention, can you paint on it that day? But they say that and I don't know who they are, but they say, the Google people, they say that you can paint on it as long as this mixture is sticky. Now, if you don't wipe this off, this never dries. That's not a good thing. You want to wipe off the extra. Okay, it stays sticky for me for at least 3-4 months. So I'm gonna I start painting on it tomorrow. But now I have another one that's much bigger. And I started it a long time ago. And I'm not quite ready to work on it. But it's starting to be, sitting here too long. And I'm afraid if it goes too long, I can never come back to it. So even though it might be a month before I work on it again, I'm going to oil it out today to give me more time to work on it. Does that make sense? So the first reason I'm doing all this, make it adhere. Okay. So, and that's just something I've always done. But what's the second reason? So sometimes, and I noticed this with Rembrandt, that as you put paint down, and I'm just going to massage it in, I keep a clock on the other one, and I'm going to massage it in. What happens is you have areas where there's paint, and then you have areas that have been glazed, and then it dries, and you have a shiny area and not a shiny area. And when you want to varnish the painting, you still run the risk of having a shiny and not shiny area. So when you put a coat of this glaze on there and you scrub it in like this, and then you put this on and wipe it off, now it's going to have one coat of oil over the whole thing. Because what happens is, when it's dry and absorbent, the underneath layer gets sucked in and it sucks the oil out of it. Okay, you've glazed on it and it's shiny. Then you have a dry area. Now you put the oil over the whole thing. The underneath layer takes, the dry area takes the oil, and the other oil is sitting on the other oil. It's not going to dry for days. So in 7 minutes, when you wipe it off, you now have one even coat. Okay, there's one other reason, and that is my biggest reason that I glaze. These first two are technical reasons. So I'm just rubbing it in, scrubbing it in. Oh, this means the painting has to be dry enough for you to scrub it like this and massage it. Is it? I have 7. 5 to 7. Okay, so what time is it now for this one? 12:30. Okay, so what time is it for this one now? Oh, 12:36. What time is it for this one? Okay, never mind. Okay, so now back to this one. And I'm going to zoom in. And I'm good with this. Okay, and let me go to this camera, make sure it's right. Okay. And I'm going to take the cheesecloth and magically wipe it off. Okay, I'm done. So what's the other reason I do this though? And that's it. And I use the 100% cheesecloth. It does a fantastic job. Leaves no lint behind. That's it. And I let it sit up, and tomorrow I'll paint on it. I think you can paint on it today, but I don't. Okay. If you use any other type of surface or any type of material, you run the risk of having lint embed it into everything, and that's going to be a nightmare. So you really want the 100% cheesecloth, and I'll put it up on the board for you to see. And these paintings were never painted. It was the beginning of an idea, and now I'm feeling like I'm ready to do it and start with it. And what's the last way? When I was painting President Carter, because I had so much difficulty, I was painting it like, wow, 6 times. And one was in process, another one was going on. I was doing it again and started over again and went back to the other one. So what happened was I painted on it. That's one layer. Then I glazed on some parts. So some parts had 2 layers and some had 1. And then I might have glazed again, and some layers had 3 layers and some 1. And then something happened and I started doing a bunch of drawings that are at the Carter Library of President Carter, and then a few things for the Carter House and the Carter Museum. And now, like 2 months later, I'm going back on the paintings, and I oiled out over the whole painting. And now the face had a layer, another area had 2 areas, another layer had 3 areas of glaze, 3 layers of depth. And then when I started to paint on it with the opaque colors, it started to make the center parts come forward even more, and it was starting to be more 3-dimensional. There was a depth that was happening from the light rays being absorbed by the glaze and the opaque coming forward because it physically is. Then a little time went on, I glazed on it, I painted on it, I glazed on it. Now there's like 8 layers of some areas and 1 layer in another and 6. And there was a variety of depth all over the painting. It sat for a little bit, I oiled out again, and now there was another layer, and then a paint and a glaze, and I had 10 layers in some of the shadows, and these lights were getting closer and closer, and it was like a Mount Everest coming toward you as a topographical map. And the illusion and realism was exploding, and I think the oiling out added to this and helped this. So the 3 reasons are different. Let me wipe this off, and then let me finalize with me looking at the picture. And that's it. I'm just wiping it off, and it's sealing it. Now, like I said, your painting has to be dry for you to do this. So you're not doing this after 2 weeks. So for it to dry, I think at least 3 weeks, 3 weeks dry. So the next thing that happens, so I'm not after major changes here. I am structurally building a layer and bringing back the luster. And also, so structurally where I can paint on it and building back the luster.